Hey guys, so I got obsessed with the Fate series randomly, and I wanted to review the entire thing for you guys, or as much as I can handle, and maybe inspire you guys to watch it too, since it's really good. Although there will be spoilers in this video, just a fair warning. You can check the description or progress bar for chapters if you want to go ahead and skip through the reviews, but I'll try to make my intro as brief as I can. For context, I did originally review this series on my Twitter, but I wanted to put it here too to get a video out. And this one's going to be a little bit longer than usual. Anyways, I started this series because I wanted to see a certain character, but I'll explain that later. I found a confusing watch list and a ton of different takes on what to see first, so I ignored it all and just took a leap of faith and started with Fate Stay Night 2006. And let me just say, it is peak. I'll rate everything at the end of each review, and I might do a big tier list at the end if I get enough videos out. But at any rate, sit back, relax, and let's watch some Fate. I know a lot of people think this show is bad or boring or almost skippable, but I greatly disagree. I watched this show because it was the earliest adaptation in the Fate series, and the watch lists were really confusing to stick to, and I gotta say, it was much worth it. Okay, before I get into the things I like, I want to talk about one of the biggest complaints about the show, which is the art. People say it sucks because compared to the other shows, it looks lower quality. And to be honest, if I watched Unlimited Blade Works first and then this, I might be bored too because the action seems a little bit slower. Except, I kind of did. You see, I watched like the first 5 minutes of Fate Apocrypha to see Jeanne d'Arc, but it was so boring that I ended up looking up a watch list and starting with this show, and honestly, the art is more reminiscent of Pokemon Indigo League or Evangelion than anything. It's from 2006, so I don't expect it to look like the 2014 animation quality. So if you look past that, it is a really good show. Besides, there are still great moments in the show, and the animation allows for funny sequences. So don't worry about the art style, and let me just tell you the good things in this show that got me hooked on the Fate series. One thing is that this show is an amazing entrance into the series. It is so efficient at establishing the rules and characters of this universe so that it can get straight into the story. And if you don't know, in the Fate series, there is typically a Holy Grail war in which 7 masters, typically mages, fight each other to win the Holy Grail that can grant them any wish. They get one servant who will help them, and there are typically 7 servant classes. The servants are basically magical versions of heroic historical figures, and they can be fictional or non-fictional. The rules on who can be a servant change with each timeline, but it's fun to see the twists. Anyways, that's the basic premise. Another big thing that got me hooked on this series are the characters, and we stick with them throughout the entire video. So bear with me while I explain my first impressions of them and how I like all of them. The main protagonist is Shirou Emiya, who is a chaotic good kind of guy. His main goal is to ensure that no one gets hurt, and he always tries to save others even at the cost of his own safety and health. He's also pretty new to the mage stuff, but after learning that it's typical for the masters to kill each other, he decides that he wants to win the Holy Grail to end these wars for good. People try to explain to him that other mages are going to die regardless because only servants can complete the Holy Grail ritual, and the only way to stop the servants is to get all of the command seals off of a master, which they won't give up willingly, so he has that dilemma. His ideals cause him to be really stressed out or risk his life, but it especially hurts his servant Saber. What's interesting is his interactions with other characters, like Rin Tohsaka, who is somewhat neutral good, and she gives it to Shirou straight whenever he's in a pickle. What's interesting about her is that she's really mean, and I think she's just a recolored version of Asuka from Evangelion, and it works perfectly because she's really good at magic and Shirou is doggy doo-doo at it, kind of like how Shinji was awful at being an Eva pilot. Now, Shirou's servant Saber has become one of my new favorite characters ever. I have a Pinterest board with like over 100 pics of her, and I want to add her to my banner and my Twitter Fortnite lobby whenever I can. I also bought a plush toy of her. That's how obsessed I've become. Anyways, she's a lawful good character, and she constantly bickers with Shirou about his ideals. Since he never wants to see others get hurt, he often makes Saber sit at home while he goes out and risks his life. At first, it's nice because she gets to eat food, and trust me, she likes to eat. But she gets worried because she promised Shirou that she would be his sword, but he constantly tells her that he doesn't want to see a girl go fighting for him where he can do it himself. Now, this does lead to him 1v1ing servants like a crazy person, and it kind of goes hard. Still, I think this gives the show a really compelling plot, which is another thing I like about this. Watching these characters work together is very fun, especially Saber and Shirou, as they're both the lead characters in this show. There are also other characters like Sakura, who is like in love with Shirou, but we'll get to her later. There's also Shinji, who sucks, but we'll get to him later, and there's Shirou's guardian, Taiga, who kinda looks like Yuko from Nichijou. and I might make a video on that later with my friend. But anyways, there's also a girl named Ilya von Einsberg who's a very chaotic evil girl who stays on Shirou's side after she loses her servant. She's still kinda evil, but it's also good because she leads to Saber's jealousy of getting hugs from Shirou, which causes her to want to be with him somewhat romantically. And Archer is Rin's servant, and he's like a chaotic neutral guy who we'll also get into later. Anyway, the way these two characters learn to compromise for each other is really nice, and they turn out to make a really good team and couple. Shirou realizes that Saber is here to literally fight for him, so he can stop trying to 1v1 every servant he sees. I like the development of Saber's love for Shirou too, as she rejects her femininity in the beginning, forcing Shirou to see her naked, but after getting to know him and Rin, she feels vulnerable in the bath and wants to be seen as dainty and fragile as Rin. However, Shirou wishes he could disagree, but he doesn't have spoken Riz in this timeline, unfortunately. I also like how Saber and Shirou have a cute date that ends in an argument where Saber stands on her own because she is confused on whether she should stick with her original goal of using the Holy Grail to change her past so that she can't disappoint the people of her country, or to stay in the present with Shirou. It's a good conflict. Like, you guys have to watch it. It leads to a good thing of not letting your past control you. In fact, this whole show has some really good themes, like how Archer tells Shirou to imagine himself at his strongest if he wants to defeat his enemies. I also like how one of the other masters says he and Shirou aren't really different in the sense that they don't care about the Holy Grail War like the others do. But he's a legit serial killer and Shirou is anti-death. It's cliche in other things, but it works really well here. Also, I think fights in this show are still really quick and harsh, and hits feel like they really hurt. It makes Shirou all the cooler when he goes up against Ryder and the serial killer guy. And a few more things. I think Assassin is a cool villain because he does not give a crap about the war, he just wants to fight Saber. I also think this show can be really cute and funny, and Saber is genuinely a new obsession for me. I love her design, and I think her story is well done. I like how well she works with Shirou, like when they defeat Berserker together. I like how she's sort of a fish out of water, and she's got this serious aura, but she's kind of dumb. I fell in love with her really quickly, and I was excited to see more of her as the series went on. Also, speaking of funny moments in the show, I like when Saber first eats dinner in the Emiya house, or when she tells Shirou she has to sleep with him, or when she wants him to rest his head on her lap. Also, some of the camera work is creative for their budget, and overall, the show has some nice campy charm. So all in all, Fate Stay Night 2006 is really good if you're just getting into the series. It's funny, charming, action-packed, deep, and a good ride through the end. I would recommend starting the Fate series with it. That way, if you really hate the art style, you don't have to downgrade from the later, higher budget productions to this one when you're following someone else's watch list. It has a great lesson of learning from your mistakes rather than seeking endlessly for a do-over. It also shows that it's okay to forgive someone and trust that they know what they're doing, where you aren't trying to control what they do because you think you know more or you think you know what's best. With that being said, I think I'd give this show a solid 9 out of 10. I definitely recommend seeing this. It set a good basic comparison for the later installments, and it introduced the rules of the series very well. But speaking of later installments, let's head into the supposed better show, Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works. Unlimited Budget Works was okay. Actually, it was fine, but my two favorite characters from the last show were disrespected so hard in this one that I just did not like it. And I mean Saber and Shirou. This show is more focused on Archer and Rin, and Shirou too, but man, I did not really vibe with how they handled him. I'll get into the things I like first though, so we don't think I utterly despise this show. Okay, so the art style was a massive upgrade. Like, this show looks beautiful, and the fighting is even more aggressive and faster than before. And it made these servants seem a lot cooler. Here's a video I sent to my friend where I was quite literally aghast at Saber's fighting style.
Your fate is now my fate. Our pact is now sealed.
Wait! What do you mean by our pact?
Dog. Let her cook. Let her cook. What the heck is this? Like, what crack are they smoking to animate this? I knew the animation would be better in this show, but after seeing a fighting scene, even the one with Lancer and Archer, I could tell that they meant business with this show. Like, this new art style gives Berserker such mobility that he seems like more of a threat, and it starts to make sense why Shirou seems so brave for fighting the servants one-on-one, until he gets annoying about it, but I'll get to that later. I also love the mid-season finale. It was really cute watching Saber have fun and be a girl for like 20 minutes. I love the character work on her because she's very stoic in here, and typically that would be fine. But since they don't give her a lot of time to develop, this is all we get. It's really cute though because she gets to play baseball and gets really competitive and then feels bad about it later.
What is it, Shirou? I find it uncomfortable to be stared at like this.
I had no idea you were such a sore loser.
I guess I miscalculated. But how on earth was I supposed to know that Saber would get so obsessed with competition?
She gets angry if you go easy on her, and then gets really angry if you're too far ahead.
But it wasn't just me.
She also gets to eat a bunch of food, which is a blessing to see, because when she eats, it's literally head empty, tummy full. I also think it's good because the plot twist genuinely shocked me. The writing is really good in the show, or at least good enough to make me care about these characters. I think the pacing is well done too, especially for the 40-minute episodes. But let me tell you, when Saber got captured, I almost broke into tears. Look at how sad she is. She's literally so nice, and she sacrificed herself for Shirou even when he told her to stay back. This is being a hero, and Shirou should take notes. But anyway, I like the plot twist because it isn't the exact same plot as the other show. Yes, Castor is evil in that one too, but here it's genuinely terrifying and shocking to see how strong she is. It's like Thanos winning an Infinity War, and I'm so serious. Seeing Shirou lose this badly because his chaotic good nature literally made things worse is so compelling. It's fantastic ironic storytelling all around. I also like that when Castor has Saber captured, she puts her in this little outfit. Like, why is she held up like this? Saber, your smoke is too tough. Your swag is too different, they'll kill you. But seriously, why does Castor like changing the clothes of girls she captures? She did the same thing with Sakura in the last one. I also think it's interesting that Archer has some plan and he'll act out of character when he's doing it. Like when he left Rin. You kind of just have to wait a few episodes before he goes back to normal. And I like how insanely strong he is too. I just think he's very interesting as a character. Oh, and Lancer too. I think they gave him a lot of great development towards the end of the show, making him a true neutral character. But he's also funny and a great fighter. I especially like his rematch with Archer where he humbles him really badly. I'm also glad both Rin and Shirou both lost their servants in two different ways. Shirou, who neglected his, had his taken from him, whereas Rin, who worked well with hers, left her. It strips the two down to their lowest. I mean, look at how pathetic Shirou is after Saber leaves him, and he follows Rin to a rooftop only for her to call him a useless loser, which he kinda is. However, once she gets ditched, they stick together and they have to rise together too. However, I don't think Rin or anybody should have forgiven Archer for what he did in this show. I think the foreshadowing that Shirou would become Archer was also clever, especially with Archer knowing how to fix Shirou's left arm, which I just now realized is what Archer helps fix in Heaven's Feel. Okay, I think I made it obvious by now, but I don't like how Shirou acts in this show. But I'm gonna hold off just a bit more on explaining because there are some other things I don't like in the show that I can briefly go through. First, I hate how Saber gets thrown away for half the show. She is too talented, too cool, too drippy, too cute, and too impactful to be treated the way she does. In the 2006 version, Shirou leaves her at home for the beginning part of the show, but she confronts him about it because when they find out about a master being at the temple, she asks what was the point of sitting at home if it wasn't to be ready to fight someone. However, in Unlimited Blade Works, he still leaves her at home, but he never talks to her, so she just sits there for most of the show. I genuinely cannot remember what she does other than go on the hangout thing in the mid-season finale. Although, when he summoned her at the school, it was nice, though he should have had Saber stick with him rather than leave her on her own to fight a few ghouls. I just hate how underused she is in the show, though she still does act in character from what I can tell. Shirou, however, I've never hated a character like this since Shinji in Evangelion. He is such a whiny crybaby in this, it actually hurts me. He constantly cries about being a hero of justice, but he literally makes things worse. He'll jump into a fight because he sees someone getting hurt, but he's such a garbage mage that he makes it worse. It's not like he took the time to learn any stronger magic, reinforcement, or projection incantations. So he's like a level 1 wizard who aggroes a boss, but thinks he has the responsibility to do it. But literally, the show would be better if he just shut up and sat down. Part of it is because he does not talk to Saber. I think Shirou and Saber should be so chummy that like we think they're gonna date, but here he doesn't even think about her. Her spending hours to turn him into a swordsman in the 2006 version makes sense because he's also an idiot in that one who wants to pick a fight with every villain, but he takes the time to level up his traits so that he can actually put up a fight, and it pays off. he forms a closer bond with Saber and thus starts having dreams of her sword and scabbards.
Are you crazy? Why would you want to do something you know is gonna get you hurt?
Getting injured is part of being a servant. I will not tolerate a master who avoids battle just because he's afraid for my safety.
But I won't send you into battle when you're not even healed yet.
I'm well enough to handle this fight. Please don't concern yourself with my health.
Is it your objective to get both of us killed again? Sorry, but I'd like to avoid dying again if you don't mind.
So when he's getting his butt kicked by Kuzuki, he keeps on projecting Archer's swords, which always break. And I don't understand why he's so obsessed with Archer anyway, because he hates this guy in the show. But he randomly thinks he's a cool dude someday, so he just starts making his blade. It feels like it's missing something, but anyway, the two swords never work, and it makes me think, why doesn't he just summon Excalibur, or the scabbard that makes him invincible? That would make him win almost every fight. And it's literally because he has never had a conversation with Saber about it. He doesn't even heed her sword technique training, because he's too busy worrying about copying Archer. Like, she's really offended by it, and it makes sense. But this whole copying Archer thing feels stale because Archer is a jerk to him. So why is Shirou trying to be like him? In the other show, Archer gives him some really good advice, but here he just says, "You suck," and that makes Shirou obsessed with him. And Saber will try to talk to him and be nice, but he will not listen to her. She's so much kinder than Archer, and she literally cares about the lives of others. She still acts like a hero, and she is still very skilled, so why wouldn't Shirou just reject Archer's philosophy by becoming like Saber instead? Literally, when she gets freed, she immediately comes to Shirou's aid, although I hate that they never fought each other, but she's literally such a good person that she fought till her last breath to not turn evil. She keeps her promise to be his sword, and that is really admirable. No one deserves her, and this is how you put others before yourself. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe Shirou is so focused on trying to be a hero that, while he says he'll put others before himself, it's all to make himself feel better. This Saber deserves a lot better than this Shirou, because she'd literally die and get tortured for him, but he wouldn't even give her the time of day because he's too busy glazing Archer. Trust when I say that I was really happy when Saber formed a pact with Rin. We got a sick fight from Saber out of it, and then she actually got a good mage to give her mana and back her up, unlike this awful Shirou who can't do anything. But this brings me back to the whole trying to reject Archer thing. The symbolism would have been much better if he used Excalibur against him rather than their two swords. Like, imagine if the one blade Archer didn't make in his unlimited blade works was Excalibur, and with Saber's help, Shirou proves him wrong by defeating him with it. He eventually uses her scabbard, which is probably confusing for people who didn't watch the 2006 version. But like, if he can use her scabbard, why not her sword? I just hate how they put her on hold in this show. She barely has anything to do with it. I did like it about 6 minutes into the 21st episode when they let her personality show though, because Shirou, being the insensitive jerk he is, says she doesn't stand a chance against Gilgamesh, and she gets pissed, rightfully so. But yeah, to end off this section of the video, I just want to say I don't know why Shirou thinks he's Shinji in End of Evangelion by making all these dumb decisions, but I like the 2006 Shirou a lot more. Rin was well written and expanded on. I like how evil Gilgamesh is. It's funny because Shirou had a plan to put him in the marble but didn't do it until the very end. Like, he had the whole intimate thing with Rin, took her crest, and wasted that extra mana on the same projection spells. But yeah, I like how he clowned on Ilya even though she barely got anything to do in the show. Yeah, I think if you aren't Shirou, Rin, or Archer, you kind of get dropped in the show. Like, why was Shinji doing more stuff than Sakura? I legit forgot she was in the show until they said her name at the end. Also, in general, seeing Shirou lose was fun. Saber's fight with Assassin at the end was peak. You guys should definitely check out this clip. Saber barely got anything to do, but she's by far still the GOAT. And why are people still chummed with Archer at the end of this, as if he wasn't tweaking a few episodes ago? And finally, the epilogue was kinda boring. In the end, the show had a lot more style over substance, especially with the animation upgrade. Some characters were barely explored, and Shirou's dilemma of trying to save everyone was a lot better handled in the 2006 version. In this one, it's almost annoying how heroic he is because he comes off as stupid. And the other, his heroism is seen as dumb, but also brave and sincere, where he feels the obligation to save people for a reason, but he's able to compromise so that the people who would die for him, like Saber, don't worry. This Shirou is just so stubborn it hurts, and it doesn't seem like he learned anything by the end of the show. So I think I'd give it like a 6 or a 7 out of 10. I don't know. I'm probably not going to watch it again, but it was necessary for the most beautiful movies I've ever seen.
But unfortunately, that is not my place. I feel good knowing that Shirou has you.
These movies are so peak. Like, they are actual masterpieces. Also, I wasn't sure at first if I should review all of them into one segment or just do each movie separately, but I think I'm going to do each movie separately and tell you guys what I like and didn't like for each of them. Okay, so Fate Stay Night, Heaven's Feel, Part 1, Presage Flower was a very fun, pleasant, eerie, suspenseful, action-packed, exciting, expectation-subverting masterpiece. Yeah, I said it. This movie was amazing. So when it started, I knew for a fact that Sakura would get a lot more development because in the first show, she was sort of just a girl who had a crush on Shirou and a magical vessel with some history with Rin. And in Unlimited Blade Works, I forgot she was even there. But in this movie, she got a lot of focus from the get-go, and she's on a poster. Also, the little details in the art were really well done. The food looked delicious, and there were more subtle things like blushing and ribbon twirling, and I already knew it would be a more romantic entry in the series, relating it to the name Heaven's Feel. What this movie did great was work on its atmosphere. It made the Fate series a little scary, notably Zoken, Sakura's grandfather, who's just so evil looking, and he's got this oogie boogie thing going on with all of his bugs. Great villain design in my opinion. The new assassin was also cool too, but apologies to fans of the old assassin, Caster, Hermaster, and Lancer. Although Lancer got a really cool fight with this new assassin. But I'm kinda glad this route barely focuses on them because they got a lot of spotlight in the last one. This movie's really good at subverting expectations because you'd expect these guys to be here at the end, but them being defeated early makes this series feel fresh. Another example is with Shinji, where we know his basic plot, but they made it a lot more creepy in the first fight. Also, the way Saber packs up Ryder is so funny. When I first watched it, I started dying. It was so funny, but really cool. Speaking of, they recap the events that led up to Shirou meeting her over the opening title, which is sung in opera. Like, it sounds so good. Oh my goodness, I don't think I can play it because of copyright, but like, trust me, the opening soundtrack is amazing. Also, Ilya's entrance was handled a lot better here than in Unlimited Blade Works. It's once again creepy, and she's scary again, which is fun because I know she's secretly a goofball. I also like how Shirou jumps to save Saber from Berserker, but there's this crude humor about it since it's heroic at first, but it just cuts to him being obliterated, and his blood is splashing all over Saber's face. Like, I think his intestines flew out. It was really gory. I think the colors are also gorgeous in the show, and the art direction is amazing, even breathtaking at times. There's this one scene where Saber and Shirou are talking around the 50-minute mark, and as the sun shines on her face, it symbolizes her leaving her dark past behind and looking forward to a brighter future with Shirou. The action, too, is really well directed. I like so many things in this, I realize. I love how Saber's handled amazingly, which is a plus. Her cute little scene where she thanks Sakura for cooking for her and later Sakura runs into the door was really funny.
You talk, and I'll get a head start on preparing Saber's room.
I'll go with her.
She is also so caring for Shirou in this, as usual, but she gets the short end of the stick when Sakura says she only makes things worse.
I'm sorry, Sakura. I let this happen even though I was with him.
Just leave him with me. And be quiet. You're only hurting him further.
Like, her face actually made me sad. I also like how we know she's meant to get stabbed by Rule Breaker, but when the corpse of Caster is gonna stab her, Archer cuts her arm off. It's so fun how this movie plays with our expectations. I think Rin is also well done in these movies. She's just as snappy as Asuka like ever, and I like the scene where we expect her to want to kill Shirou after she's done teaming up with him, but instead, he begs her for advice. I love the way Shirou's handled in this movie too. He is a just world phenomenon type of guy in this, and he isn't afraid to give it to people straight when he has a problem with them. He gets so pissed when he asks if Shinji gave Sakura her bruises, and later he goes out of his way to confront him, and we all know he had Shinji trembling. I also think his bravery is earned and it works well. He isn't just saying he wants to be a hero of justice over and over, but he's actually doing it. And I think he's a little like Spider-Man since he doesn't tell Sakura what's been going on, but she gets worried every time he comes home late at night beat up. Also, Ryder is low-key goated in the series. She comes to save Shirou at the end, which was really cool. And let me talk about the ending real quick. This movie is so good at suspense. I was so worried what they were going to do when Shirou confronted Zoken in the temple. I do hate that Rin and Archer didn't go with Shirou because it seems like he knew exactly where he would find Zoken. And I also felt so bad for Saber when she got captured, but she put up a good fight. I also think this Shirou is a lot braver than me because I could not fight a villain who shoots bugs at you. And honestly, if Ryder has no fans, I'm dead because she is so goated in this. Overall, this movie was a fantastic setup for the series. I love the art, music, and atmosphere, and there are these random Bloodborne moments in it. It has great pacing and a hooking plot. I remember watching Unlimited Blade Works and thinking, if I had to watch Shirou learn the same lesson again, I'd probably drop the entire series. But here it is so fresh. I also love Sakura's character work in this one. These are bleak, eerie, dreary, and miserable movies. And I wrote, I actually can't wait to watch the next one in my notes app. So far, I give this one a 9 out of 10. It's good, but the second one is even better somehow. Okay, so Fate's Stay Night, Heaven's Feel 2, Lost Butterfly was actually even better and scarier than the first movie. It still got the same amazing atmosphere from the beginning, yet the opening title reminds me more of Nier this time with the opera singing. Anyway, I love the conversation Shirou has with Sakura in this movie. After he gets home, she asks if he'll stay at home now since Saber's gone, but he tells her that Saber actually would have kept him home more often. He still has work to do, and he doesn't tell her specifically what that work is, but we know it's working to win the Holy Grail. I partially like this scene because Sakura has blamed a lot of Shirou's pain on Saber because she has this idea of him that's not exactly true, which is ironic because Sakura herself has a secret, but also because it shows this Shirou's real heroism. He gets down to business even after the spooky and horrible things happen to him. And I know in Unlimited Blade Works he lost Saber and still tried to fight, but here it feels better to see him keep fighting. In Unlimited Blade Works, it was pathetic since it felt like he had no other purpose. Whereas in here, it feels like this is his purpose and responsibility. The characterization is done so well, and sometimes I think of him as this universe's Leon Scott Kennedy, with how cool he gets. Also, he actually saves people rather than gets them in more trouble. Like how when Rin was about to get killed early on, he took a hit for her. Like this type of thing is why he's much better here than in Unlimited Blade Works. I think Sakura's development is also really well done in this movie. She has this nightmare sequence where she's left on a train, which I thought represents her fear of isolation, or better yet, being left behind, which is why she's so cautious of Shirou leaving every night. And the bugs inside of her are like an infestation or invasion that her grandpa gives her since he's a walking corpse. And I also wrote that she probably thinks bugs are scary. But like, I just realized I solved that mystery. I don't know if it was a mystery, but I figured out early on that her gramps was violating her physically through the bugs. I also like the twist that she is Ryder's true master, and that she's way more powerful than Shinji, but she still can't overpower him psychologically. I also thought it was cool that Ryder is like partially Medusa with her powers. I like the theme of sexualization in this movie because it's handled deeply but with a lot of respect. It first hit me when I thought Sakura was kind of freaky with the way she sucks Shirou's blood.
Yes. And then
later she falls over after feeling the warmth in her body and starts rubbing one out. And then at the end of the movie, she literally gets sexually assaulted. It is horrible, and it shows how Shinji was a true villain, but it also symbolizes how powerless Sakura has felt all of her life, under the influence of the forces of nature and the lack of regard from the people around her, especially her adoptive family. It was so weird to watch, but very creative, so I liked it. Also, since it made me uncomfortable, that makes it true horror. Oh, and I'm not sure why people think the shadow is bad. I mean, it killed her rapist. What's the issue? Also, she asked Shirou for sex, which might have been the worms talking, but this movie series in general is really horny. Shirou had a dream of grabbing Sakura's boob, but like if you live with the women he did, I think you might have had at least one dream like that. Honestly, it's really funny how much riz Shirou has in this show, but I digress. The fight with Saber, Alter, and Berserker was so intense, I literally could not process it. She is so powerful, and I know she's evil, but I'm still her biggest fan. If there's one way to describe her, it's that she's hot. I want to add her to my banner. No, I will add her to the banner. It sucks that this is literally her only scene in the movie because she's so cool, and her voice, and her powers. Like, she obliterates Berserker. He kind of gets disrespected in the Ufotable productions, not gonna lie. But seriously, Saber means business when she's in Alter form. She literally punches Berserker in the face and kills him enough times to have him stay dead. She comes out swinging in the scene, and I loved every single minute of it. Honestly, I'm pretty sure this is what Castor wanted when she captured Saber in Unlimited Blade Works, but instead she put her in that freaky outfit instead. This also ends with the gang getting blown up and Shirou loses his arm and basically dies. It is insane. Emiya is a great character in this movie too. She acts as a good foil at first because Shirou sort of snaps at her and he feels guilty, but this moment makes his whole goal of trying to save everyone a lot better. It's the same in Unlimited Blade Works, but it isn't shoved down our throats, so it's more subtle and less tell and more show. He doesn't want to see people get hurt or killed, and I think that's what makes him a good hero of justice, and it's why this and a 2006 Shirou are my favorites. Also, Emiya is just well written in this overall. She's smart and actually plays an even bigger role in the next movie. There's a lot more respect for her in this series, unlike in Unlimited Blade Works, where she only had the 3rd episode and then one other episode where she got murdered. Also, this movie has some great conflicts, so I'll just list a few that stood out to me. One was around the 36-minute mark when Sakura was worried she would lose control of herself and that she was a monster, but Shirou literally comforts her and hands her keys to their home because that's where she belongs. She has people to turn to. She's not impure. She just has to forgive herself because Shirou will be there for her no matter what. And he keeps this promise the entire series, even when she gets evil. I also like how Rin acts around Sakura. It's very tense, but she's somewhat oblivious to how Sakura feels about Shirou. So when she tells Shirou about the high jump memory, it hurts a ton for Sakura. I love the line, "That's my memory," which I first thought was a sign of a loss of self, but it was just another reason of Sakura's jealousy towards Rin, as she figured out Rin got another nice thing happen to her where Sakura would likely suffer, since she figured Rin would take Shirou from her. I think Archer's arm being attached to Shirou is also interesting because it's sort of a cooler way to do the entire plot of Unlimited Blade Works, since Archer is Emiya. If he doesn't keep track of his status, he can lose himself and end up dying. I don't know, I also think it's cool that his strongest weapon can also kill him. I think the fantasy dream sequence Sakura had is so interesting too. I dissected the whole thing, but my ending thoughts were completely subverted when she was face to face against Gilgamesh and then she ate him. I'm kind of glad about it because he sucked in the last 2 shows, especially the first one where he treated Saber like she was property. Though, I felt so bad when she got hit with his noble phantasms while conscious, but her creating a giant shadow was really fun. Also, I love the shadow as a villain. It's so creepy and I love how silent it is and it's kind of eldritch. It also gives this interesting moment for Shirou. You see, he gets this trolley problem where he himself is under the path with a bunch of people, but Sakura is the one on the other track. So many people tell him that Sakura is already dead, but due to his chaotic good nature, he never stops trying to help her. He breaks the rules in this series. Someone asks him, "Will you betray yourself?" And he says, yes, just to keep that promise for Sakura. It's gold. But overall, this movie is so amazing. Like, it's really good. Not just as an anime movie, but as a movie in general. And it's gorgeous looking. If you like the last one, you will love this one, and so I think I'll give it a 10 out of 10. This and the other Heaven's Feel movies are so scary and gritty and engaging. They show moments of cosmic and true horror to genuine love between characters, and overall, they're full of fantastic storytelling with really well thought out characters. And if you watch the other Fate Stay Night entries, it subverts your expectations really well to keep things fresh. The only thing I didn't like was that Saber only got 1 scene in the entire film, but I need to stop setting my expectations for her to get as much screen time as the 2006 series. But still, this movie was amazing, and I could not wait for the finale. Yeah, Fate Stay Night, Heaven's Feel Part 3 Spring Song is good too. They're all good, like I said. I only took a few notes on this one because I just wanted to enjoy it, so I'll list a few things that stood out to me. Interesting is Emiya makes Sakura second guess herself after hearing words of praise, like that she's too powerful, which might show that a way to foil our fears might be encouragement and support from those around us. Although, and I'll talk about it later, but we realize that we might go overkill to reach our goals if we've been under too much abuse beforehand. Also, later on when Sakura thinks she's killed Rin, Shirou shows up, and he does the most heroic and nicest thing ever. He tells her that they can save her together, but she tells him to just run away. But this amazing dude decides to run up and get her, and she starts begging for him to leave, and he keeps on moving, and she's saying how she doesn't deserve to be saved, how she can die there alone, but he pushes himself to save her because he promised he would. All because he promised. That's why he's the GOAT! He walked up to her even though she begged him to leave. This is great storytelling. And he's gonna get that shadow out of her. So he tells her, it's not gonna be easy. You better grit your teeth. And this is the coolest thing I've ever heard in my life. I think Shirou's final moments are great too. His fist fight with Kotomine was brutal, and it was really just two dudes who hated each other going at it. Also, it's kind of funny how I was kind of confused on how Ryder got to stick around, and I wish Saber got to stick around too, but I also just had to accept that Shirou was alive again. However, I love that Rin asked Sakura if she was happy, since Rin can finally see her smile without suffering herself. And Sakura got to see the cherry blossoms with Shirou. Another promise that he made came true. It's such an amazing, beautiful movie. And the ending tracks by Aimer are bangers. I've been listening to them on repeat. It's a really satisfying ending for this trilogy. Overall, this movie was breathtakingly amazing. It's more of an event, but it's still really good when you watch it with the last one. So I'll give it a 9.5 out of 10. Well, that's going to be all what I reviewed for this video. So far, I'm a huge fan of the Fate series. I think it is very creative, fun, fresh, and overall engaging. I like that it's kind of an anthology and has a ton of lore to get into, although it is kind of daunting and hard to recommend to other people who have a life outside of consuming entertainment. If you're interested in a fun fantasy anime with great characters, action, and story arcs that aren't 1,000 episodes long, then I would definitely recommend this series. I'm not sure if I'm going to rate every single title in this series because there's a lot, but I can try to do a tier list. For now, the rating would go like this. Heaven's Feel movies on top. The order can be based on what I rated each movie, so that's 2, 3, 1 in that order. Then the 2006 Fate Stay Night, and finally Unlimited Blade Works. It's not that a whole show so far. Also, I think at some point I want to do horniest scenes in Fate because this series can get really freaky. But yeah, I love that I have a new favorite character and a new series to get into. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I did, and stay tuned for more stuff coming over the summer. I'm probably going to do more anime-based things for a bit, so get ready. There will be more parts of this series. The next Fate entries I plan to watch are these. So if you're interested, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment what else I should look forward to in the Fate series, as well as if you like the Fate series, or if you're going to watch it. Tell me your favorite route or character, and with that being said, I'll see you guys next time after I get to see Saber smile and eat again. And I can't wait to watch this and fill my entire summer break. So if you made it this far, thank you again so much for watching. And I'll see you guys next time, where I'll hopefully continue the series. Peace out.
Excalibur!
Baby, come jump off the roof with me, live off your youth with me before they shooting me. With all they cameras and bullets, I swear I'm the man up in front with the hooligans. Yeah, I'm up with stand up, you do not